morning sunshine, rocking the good time with all our friends. Easy and carefree, out in the summer breeze, loving a simple things for hours on end. Right about sundown, we lay on the ground, count on the stars as they come out one at a time. Ain't this a sweet life?
Hey everybody, I'm X Factor winner Tate Stevens, and welcome to the Sweet Life Podcast, where we talk about everything from music, sports, food, entertainment, and, well, just living the sweet life. All right, man. Today's episode, we're going to get into this kind of a, I don't know, been thinking about different things since we haven't been playing a lot of music lately, you know, coming out of the COVID thing, and then everything's starting to kind of open back up, so we're going to start playing more, obviously, but influences, like your influences and inspirations, and why we play music, why you play guitar, why do you sing, why do you do that? You know, who was it that in your life, or not, maybe not even somebody in your life, but somebody you heard and you listened to, and you're like, man, I want to emulate that. If I can play the guitar like that, or if I can do this, this is what I want to be like, sound like, you know, and all that. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. We have some things, some other things we can get into, some kind of topic things that's going on right now. So we'll get into all that in this episode. All right. Well, what do you want to start with? You want to start with some topic things and kind of get that out of the way, or what do you want to do?
Yeah. First and foremost, the tragic passing of Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Okay, so, dude, for the people who are wrestling fans out there who listen to this, man, Paul Orndorff, I mean, he had such a big presence in wrestling for so many years. Even when he tore remember when he tore his bicep or whatever that was off his shoulder, and he came back and his arm was a little different, but he still wrestled. I mean, he still, yikes, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's sad. You know, do you remember how old was he?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Those guys are passing, you know, more and more, and they're not that old.
Had to be late 60s.
Yeah, probably. I'd say late 60s, early 70s, maybe.
Yeah, probably,
you know, from 65 to 70 years old, probably in there. Yeah. But you think, I mean, you know, sure, there's the guys who go earlier, you know, because of whatever, they kill themselves or have a heart attack or whatever. But, you know, it seems like more and more every year you kind of hear of a few more of those wrestlers passing that we grew up on.
Yeah, it sucks, man, getting old. Once you start getting old, these people that you looked up to and watched as a kid, they all just keep going. Man.
And like that in music also.
Yep.
You know, it seems like every few months another one's going to go, and it's sad. So,
yeah.
Yep. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is, and we're going to be one of those people one of these days.
Yep.
So, all right, what else you got there?
Oh, shoot. The Conor McGregor fight, man. How did you get to watch the fight?
No, I watched, we were actually at the lake when it happened. So
that's right.
I did I watched after the fight, you know, all the stuff. And I watched the replay. Now, look, Conor was losing that round. I think he lost a round, and which is okay. I mean, he gave up his back and all that stuff, so I get it. He lost a round. But he wasn't getting beat up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the dude was just beating him up.
Yeah.
The other fighter,
Portier,
yeah. He said when he checked one of his kicks, he thought he felt something, and he felt something. And I'd have to go back and watch, but I thought he said he pointed at Conor. Like when he checked his kick, he kind of pointed at him like, "Hey, I felt something. You're not good."
Yeah.
And then like threw a punch, missed, and Conor stepped back and then snap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, okay, so he snapped his leg, falls down, and his foot's just flopping. Like the dude couldn't see that, and he started pounding Conor's face, trying to hit him in the face when he was laying on the mat. I mean,
that's what you do.
No, I know, but still, I mean, there's a I don't know. I thought, anyway, whatever. It is what it is. My favorite part, look, Conor McGregor, I think, is to the UFC what like how can I say his name? Floyd Mayweather was to boxing. You know what I mean? Talk trash and back it up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And he's probably the richest UFC fighter.
Yeah.
You know, at this point. And he will draw bigger crowds than anyone. You know what I mean? On pay-per-views, if Conor McGregor's on that pay-per-view, you'll have more people watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just that guy. But, you know, while he was on the mat, waiting for him to come get him out of the ring and everything, and just still talking trash, you know, and then he told him that, he was like, yeah, your wife's in my DMs. That's my favorite part. Anyway, yeah, that sucked. I mean, I was thinking that this was Conor's up, you know, his coming up again. You know, he'd been battled some injuries and a loss and all that. So, you know, I thought this was going to be his fight where he was going to come out. But I mean, you know, things happen, and you know, obviously he stepped wrong, or maybe he did break in fracture it when he checked that kick and then, you know, stepped back just wrong and snapped it.
Could have been.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? Or it could have just been a weak bone. And now my son was saying that they're talking about how the athletes are taking drugs to prepare their bodies and recover faster from different things, and they think it could be weakening their bones. You know, who knows? I mean, I don't know if that's a real thing. There could be a doctor out there listening going, yeah, that's a real thing, or no, you're an idiot. Don't believe him. You know what I mean? But I mean, they have to take certain things to help them.
Sure.
I'm going to be honest. If you get punched in the face and kicked in the body and elbowed and kneed and thrown down and choked out and all that, I mean, it's not good for your body. You know,
no,
none of it is good for your body, you know. So I'm sure they do take things, you know, to help them recover faster and get their bodies going again. I mean, that's a beating. Your body takes a beating in them things, you know. Yeah. Oh, the other thing you wanted to talk about was the Marvel. Was it Marvel movie?
Oh, yeah. Black Widow just came out this week.
You know, we were just talking right before this.
Late last week, yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about this thing, and I'm like, I didn't know who she was. I'd watched several of the Marvel, but it didn't really explain her. You know, I knew she was a Marvel person.
Yeah, I don't think you watched them really that closely.
I didn't. Probably not. I fell asleep through most of them, but well, that's good. I mean, at least they'll explain. You know, I'll have to watch that one. Then I go back and watch a few of the other ones she was in, and so I'd realize who she was and why she was who she is, I guess. You know, in that same thing is the Black Adam movie with The Rock in it. Mm-hmm. And that's a Marvel movie, right? Is that Marvel?
DC.
Or is that? Oh, that's DC. That's a DC movie.
Yeah.
And okay, so that right there in itself, DC, Marvel, like if you're a DC fan, you know, they're like, Marvel movies suck. If you're a DC fan, they're like, man, DC's the best.
I don't know if very many DC fans can back that up.
Well, I mean, look, dude.
So far, the Marvel movies have just completely crushed.
Well, yeah,
DC
but
movies.
I'm just saying that you have those DC comic book guys and you have the Marvel comic book guys, and they'll argue which one's better and all that. But you know, I'm still Batman's my favorite.
Oh,
still, I mean, I don't know where he is. Is he Marvel or is he DC?
DC.
Yeah, he's my favorite. I don't care. Because he doesn't have any superpowers.
Yeah.
He just has all homemade tools.
Yep.
And he's a badass. So that's why I like him. He's got a badass tool belt.
Mm-hmm. And he's a ninja.
Dude. You can't beat him up. He puts the damn suit on, and it's like he's in you know, he shoot him. He laughs, scuffs it off. Like, you know, it's kind of like scuba diving. If have you ever tried scuba diving?
Being Batman is kind of like scuba diving.
No, listen. I'm talking about putting on the suit. Okay. So have you ever went scuba diving?
Never have.
So, okay. So Hayden and I are certified divers, right? And it's kind of funny because you put your wetsuit on. It's kind of like a Batman suit. I mean, it's a, you know, a wetsuit. And you get all your stuff on, your BCD and everything, and you get fins and all that stuff. And when you're in the water, you feel like, at least I do. Mm-hmm. I'm like invincible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good. I'm not scared of anything. It's like nothing can hurt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. It's like a weird.
Well, that's very much not the case.
No, not at all. You're very vulnerable when you're under the water. But that's. I mean, I'm just relating that to my Batman suit.
Yeah.
That's like my Batman suit. I put
you should get a scuba suit that looks like Batman.
Batman,
dude.
Well, mine's black, and I guess mine's black and red. I wanted black and yellow, but they didn't have it, so mine's black and red. Which is probably not good to have black and red, because that means I could look like a bleeding walrus.
Yeah.
And like a big whale or shark could come up and like, oh, I see red, you know, and want to bite me. I don't know. Probably not good to have. Anyway, whatever. So, all right, well, that's good. I mean, I know we kind of went off on a little tangent there with my wetsuit and Batman, but talking about Marvel, we went completely the opposite way.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it is what it is.
Yes,
well, that's
sir.
good.
Yeah,
that's
man.
Good. Well, listen, today, I mean, you know, thinking about, I don't know if you think about this, but I do a lot. I think about why I play music and why I love music so much. To me, music is the best. It's like the best food for your soul kind of thing. Mm-hmm. To me, that's what I think. I don't think it's like the best drug you can get. You know what I mean? It helps people. Obviously, music helps people, and you know, it can put you in a better mood or a worse mood or whatever. Mm-hmm. Kind of help you through the hard times if you're having them, or you know, just make you feel like you want to party and have fun. But I think about why I do this and why I love playing music and entertaining and performing. But I also think about why I started doing it. Right? For me, my dad obviously was my first influence in the music business or in music. He was a musician, obviously singer and all that. So I think as most kids, you kind of want to be like dad, you know, like that's your first hero. Well, at least for me, like my dad was my first hero when I was a kid, right? And I think most guys are that way, or kids that are that way. I think growing up with him playing music and that was my first introduction into, man, I really like that. I remember listening to my dad's band play. I would lay my head on his pillow. He had a pillow on his kick drum. And I'd lay my head on his pillow on his kick drum, and I'd go to sleep. I remember wanting to play the drums because he did. Mm-hmm. And I remember they got me one of those little kids drum sets, you know, has like a little drum, a kick drum and a little cymbal in the middle and two little things. And I broke it within 5 minutes because I was actually playing the drums. And, you know, my dad taught me a couple little rhythms to do and things like that. And I was playing them and I was hitting them and they were breaking in the paper because they were just little paper heads. Yeah. And I was like, pop, and just put a hole in my thing. And I'm like, you know, so he went and got me a better kit, you know, a little later. And so then he was just teaching me how to play.
Sure.
And then the singing part as well. My dad was a great singer. You know, very, very like he enunciated all his words. You know, very
kind of almost Ray Price-ish.
Very, very Ray Price, very Ray Price-esque.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I got a lot lazier the older I got with the singing, but I tried to when I was a little kid. I wanted to sound like that was because that's what I heard the most. When I would listen to my dad, that's what he did, you know, so I tried to kind of do that up until a certain point until, you know, the music that I call, you know, my music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of kicked in and then I heard other voices and I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. Ooh. So I think for me, very first off, I think my dad was a big influence on music for me. Plus, he introduced me to that great country music, the stuff that, you know, the Haggards and the Gene Watsons and the John Conleys. He introduced me to that. And then I was able to kind of go from that into what I call the country music that I grew up on. Mm-hmm. I would say for me, my dad was a big influence back then. At young, that was my first influence, right? Do you have like a first influence kind of, or just is?
Well, for me, because my grandpa played,
right?
He was a musician, and he played like he played in church and stuff like that, and that's really church music was pretty much my first like influence. That's the first thing I really knew. That's what I grew up playing.
Now, when you say church music, are you talking about hymnals and gospel stuff, or are you talking about worship music? Or I guess it's all the same. But
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Mostly like Southern gospel type stuff.
So your grandpa for you, and that
my grandpa gospel music, but my first like real like thing that I heard that I was just like, oh man, was the Gaither Vocal Band, dude.
Wow, with Mark Lowry and all those.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But to this day, I still say that Michael English is my favorite singer of all time.
Really?
Ever? Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Great. I mean,
dude, it doesn't matter. Like even present day, his voice is maybe like 70, 75, 80% of what it used to be.
And still
but that 75 and 80% is just like,
no, absolutely. I agree. It's awesome. So we grew up on like in two different worlds of music. Mm-hmm. I mean, up until a point, right? Sure. So I grew up so I'm the youngest of 5. I'm 7 years younger than my next sibling, right? I had my dad with the that 70s and 70s, 60s and 70s country music thing, right? And then my brothers, they were listening to REO Speedwagon and Journey and Queen and Boston and all that stuff in the late 70s, and early 80s. So I went from country music to rock. Because when my brothers didn't listen to country music, and I think I've loved Merle Haggard's voice forever. John Conley, I love John Conley. It's so different. It was such a different thing. But when I heard Steve Perry sing, I love REO Speedwagon too. Huge Speedwagon fan, but when I heard Steve Perry, it was different.
Yeah, that's a different kind of beast right there.
Yeah, it was different. It was a different thing. And I remember being a little kid singing Journey songs and REO Speedwagon songs, Now, obviously, it wasn't doing good, but I was singing them and trying to emulate that. Mm-hmm. So, going from that kind of older country, over enunciating my words and everything,
right,
to, Keep on Loving You and Faithfully, and you know what I mean? It's like there was a world of difference in that, but I love both.
Yeah.
Then kind of timeline change up until I was like, 10, 12 years old. The rock came different, in the 80s, you had hair bands and Bon Jovi. That resonated. His voice resonated.
Sure.
Influencing the things that I was trying to do. Again, singing, you're singing country music, but you want to sound like Ray Price and John Bon Jovi with some Steve Perry in there somewhere. Right. That's kind of what I was trying to do. Weird, but wasn't doing a very good job at any of it. So, but so I can, that's kind of a timeline for me. Mm-hmm. My dad loved gospel, Southern gospel stuff. One of my favorite singers in the Gaither vocal group was Dallas Holmes. Yeah. Dude, Rise Again.
Yeah.
I still sing it to this day. Just start singing it. And so now you take everything that I've been doing up to this point with this singing thing and this music thing, right? So you got Ray Price and Bon Jovi and Steve Perry, and then you got Dallas Holmes, which takes kind of a weird turn back to a Ray Price thing.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to Rise Again or any of his songs, it's go ahead.
Yeah.
Say it isn't me. He's enunciating his words, and it's like, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But you said you got up into that stuff. Now, coming out of that, where do you turn to?
Well, it was kind of a natural progression. Old Avila coach Daryl Kronk.
Oh, Daryl Kronk.
He kind of turned me on to some Ricky Skaggs music, which is why I could play. It's like Ricky Skaggs and Garth Brooks. I could just play that stuff all night long, even though Garth Brooks is a jerk that comes in and steals our show dates.
I hope Garth. I hope you're listening to this.
I'm gonna hold a grudge forever,
forever and ever.
But Ricky Skaggs, I learned all of that stuff, all the guitar playing and stuff like that, and then obviously the next up after that was I got my first Garth Brooks CD, and Garth was the man, and
so you're up into 1990.
90s, yes. Yep. Which in 1990 I was only 7 years old, so I mean,
I get it. Yeah, you're just a youngster. Yeah. It's so after about 80, I guess it was 85, 86, Randy Travis. And then George Strait obviously came out in 81. So that was kind of coming up. But George was very country, and his voice was so smooth and had such a great tone. That's kind of where I started with the tone, listening to Steve Perry sing and the tone of his voice and that timbre and everything about it. And then the country thing started to become more of a deal for me again.
Yeah.
George Strait. And I'm listening to this guy sing, and it's like perfect. It's flawless. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, how are you that good? It couldn't miss. You know what I mean? He had the look, he had the sound, he had everything, and he was singing his face off.
Yep.
And it was just like it couldn't miss. There's no way it could have missed. And then you get into the Randy Travises. And for me, and I'm like, man, this guy, but again, now Randy was doing things with his voice that Lefty and those guys did.
Yeah.
He would he'd do the the drop thing and all that, which was different. And when I heard it, I'm like, oh man, of course now I'm a kid. Now I'm so I'm trying to do that kind of thing, and it doesn't work when you're a kid, right? You just don't have the capability at that age to do that kind of stuff. But I was still trying, and I was still working on it, right? So then you come up to 1990, and I heard Garth Brooks. Mm-hmm. It was a familiar sound. Mm-hmm. Music wasn't but his voice, his vocal thing that he did, kind of a whiny, he had that kind of little bit of whine to some of his stuff,
sure,
which was different and cool. A lot of guys weren't doing that, but it was real familiar. Then the more I got into who this guy was, and then of course here come all the specials, and here come all the stuff about Garth Brooks and who he's this thing that blows up on stage, right? So then you're just like mesmerized by this thing, and his music was the music that I could relate to somehow. It wasn't. I was a kid,
right?
I was like, what, 8th grade, something, 9th grade, something like that. But it was in that time period of I'm growing up, I'm becoming a man, and why wouldn't that summer be something that I could relate to? You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, but you see what I'm saying? So I'm like, if tomorrow never comes and that kind of thing, that's just a deal. And so I remember that. I remember that. But, I remember it being so familiar.
Yeah.
It was easy to listen to. And then came Joe Diffie. And I remember hearing Home. And I was like, this warm voice. And it was so big. Yeah. It sounded big to me then even. He whined a little bit, and he did the thing. He would do the drop thing, and he would do this thing. And I would listen, and I would listen, and I would listen. And I was like, how do I sound that warm? How do I get my voice to sound that warm? Practice and practice and practice and practice. And I wore out Joe Diffie tapes. And I was like trying to sing like him because I was like, that's the guy I want to sound like. I want to sound like that. That had everything from the time I started singing, that had the enunciation, you know, to enunciate my words and not eat them and not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had the high notes, the Steve Perry kind of thing that I wanted to do. And it had some smooth tones and things like that I heard from George Strait. It was familiar, like Garth Brooks, but it was Joe Diffie, and it was, to me, it was perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I heard it and it was perfect. Listening to Ronnie Millsap as a kid, he was doing it all before Diffie.
Sure.
And I loved Ronnie Millsap from a little kid. Was one of my first concerts ever.
Me too.
I got to go see Ronnie Millsap, one of my first concerts ever. It was at Worlds of Fun. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And he was awesome. His band was it was so good. Anyway, but
after Joe, anything that really got your...
so now listen, there's so many artists that I could say influenced me in a little bit.
Sure.
Mark Chestnut, I love Mark Chestnut, dude. Love Chestnut. Clay Walker, huge Clay Walker fan. Think Clay's great. Great singer, nice guy. Of course, Craig Morgan. I love Craig. Craig's a great songwriter and definitely influenced me musically. I think later on in my life, I think when I heard Craig Morgan music, I thought, that's the kind of music I want to do. You know what I mean? So I heard his, Almost Home back in 2006 maybe. Or
something like that.
When I heard that, I thought, oh man, this guy, it's real country. You know what I mean? In a time where we were kind of getting away from country music a little bit, even then, more pop style or sounding country. And Craig comes out with Almost Home, and it's like, oh, here we go again. We're good.
Yeah.
Everything's good again, right? I know I'm talking a lot about my influences, and we'll get to you too. I mean, I'm not going to just talk about me, but so then we got to go back though a little bit. Actually, you know what? We'll go back in a minute. So go from where you were,
okay.
With Garth Brooks.
Left off Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
One of my first, I'll say this. I grew up in a house that was fairly religious house,
Right.
So I didn't, not that I wasn't allowed, I couldn't be like, hey, Mom, can you get me this Megadeth album? Right. So I was just like, I was pretty limited on what I could get access to, but
Right.
I got the Leonard Skinner, was it Skinner's Inner? It's like their greatest hits thing that they put out.
Yeah.
And I would sit there and listen to that thing like on my Walkman while I was, the little cassette tape while I was mowing my lawn and all this kind of stuff. That was like some of my first like introduction to like rock guitar playing type stuff, you know, but it was still like kind of country-ish, but it was rock,
Yeah.
And after that, I was actually, funny story behind this one. There's some guys in high school, they would always talk about Jimi Hendrix, whatever. So I went down and stayed for a few weeks down with Daryl when he was going to Pitt State.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you got to come with me to this flea market over here. They have like bins and bins of these like used CDs for super cheap. So I went there and I got this Jimi Hendrix CD for $5. It was the Ultimate Experience, is like a greatest hits CD thing. And I remember listening to that thing on the way home, and I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
So think, talk about like just that guy, Jimi Hendrix, his tone.
Yeah.
Playing backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably, or was it upside down? Was it upside down?
Oh, yeah.
It was upside down. Upside down.
But it was strung correctly, but just, you know.
Upside down. Yeah. Then the things that he had, his foot switches and pedals or amps, I don't think there wasn't that many things that he could really use. Back then there wasn't like a big. Now some pedal boards are 4 foot long and 2 foot wide, and the guy's got 47 pedals on there, and he's stomping 4 of them just to get one sound.
Right.
Where back then he just had a thing, and to make that sound with very minimal stuff.
Yep.
Because most of it comes out of your hand. You know what I mean? The tone for sure.
He was a genius, absolute genius.
Crazy.
After that, through Jimi Hendrix, I kind of discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, wow.
And that one was huge. I was the biggest. Like, whenever I first got my first electric guitar, Stevie Ray Vaughan was the man.
Yeah.
So it's like...
So you can play Pride and Joy 7,000 times.
I could play all those songs. Like, I mean, just nuts.
So
that was,
do you hear anything when I hear Jimi Hendrix play and I hear Stevie Ray Vaughan play, some of the tones, if you listen to them, go back and do that. Listen to some of the tones, they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's almost like Stevie Ray Vaughan just said, "Hey, I'll just take his rig and I'm going to play my Texas."
Well, Stevie was
blues.
huge Jimmy fan. Huge.
Well, you can
Jimmy
hear
fan.
it in his tone of his
Well, he's
guitar.
covered several of his songs.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, sure.
sure. But, I mean, he does a rendition of Voodoo Child that's awesome. I mean, I thought that Third Stone from the Sun, I thought that was a Stevie song because I saw it live at the Elmer Combo and he just, I mean, he all but lit his guitar on fire. I mean, it was just nuts. He just took the thing and just like threw it at the end of the deal, you know, it just... I was just like, dude, this guy's insane.
Yeah.
He's playing these Jimi Hendrix songs, so he must be legit. So the more I dug into that, I was just like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And as I was getting into high school, I started discovering like all the old Metallica albums. And dude, that just like took my brain way over here onto this track and just kind of not really realizing I was taking like, Ricky Skaggs, Metallica, like just all this stuff and into a single filter, and just that's what you get. But
I wonder if you can distort your guitar and have some cool overdrives and tones and play like Country Boy. And see if it sound anything different. I mean, it's obviously going to sound different, but would it bring it to a different thing? Would it make it different as far as, I mean, it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. Just to try it one time, just to see. And I'm sure you might have done that, but.
Well, we play, my band, we play a cover of Devil Went Down to Georgia on guitar and stuff. And coming out of the devil part, where it's just distorted guitar, I play the intro to Hummingbird. No, nobody knows what it is, but Ricky Skaggs Hummingbird. But, and then out of Metallica stuff, I start getting into Merle Haggard. So it's like circling back, then Merle Haggard, then I kind of, I say just Merle Haggard, but it's Merle, Waylon, just all that general stuff. Merle Haggard was the main one.
Sure.
And then I discovered Red Volkart, the guitar player, and like just the way he plays, man, it just took my mind over here. Just like, dude, you can do all this quirky stuff on guitar, and it just worked for me. And then lastly, probably the latest thing that I've really been influenced by is it's like Dave Grohl / Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
But Dave Grohl, because just all the movies he's put out, like all the documentaries, like all the one-man band stuff is really big for me. Because I did that. I put out an album of one-man band thing here not too long. 2018, I think. It's like 8 songs, country, some like kind of blues, some rock, and then last song's a rap song about Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, which is stupid because that's the most popular one on there.
Right.
And I did miss one in there. Van Halen. Van Halen was huge.
Right.
Like I'd say Metallica / Van Halen, because right about that time I was discovering that guitar,
I think as a guitar player, I'm not a guitar player by any means, and I think as a guitar player, I think Eddie Van Halen would be a guy that most people would go, yeah. I mean, without saying, because he invented a sound and a with the tapping and the whole thing. What he did there, people emulate to this day. All guitar players do it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, his playing was so much more than just that finger tapping stuff.
That's what I'm saying. He again, intellectual. He was very cerebral playing. He
was our generation's Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, for sure. So as a singer, I kind of stopped with the Diffie thing, know. Now you got to go back. For me, I got to go back and go, okay, I saw my very first concert that I remember was Ronnie Millsap. And I watched Ronnie Millsap as an entertainer. Mm-hmm. Now, Ronnie Millsap played piano and is blind. Mm-hmm. I watched him jump off his piano and walk around the stage like he could see.
Yeah.
He got up and walked out to the front of the stage and was singing, and then walked to the left, and the girls came out and was singing with him, and then he walked over and he walked back to his piano and sat back down like he knew. No one helped him.
Yeah.
He just found it and sat back down and started playing and singing again. And then different part of the show, he's climbed up on his piano and was standing on it and jumped off of it. You're blind, dude. Yikes. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I saw that guy entertain people. And I thought, because I was one of them, and I'm just like, oh, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
I saw Garth Brooks live. And what he did, I thought, oh, my God. At any point in that show, he could have blown people that just like flicking a booger, and we would have fell down. You know what I mean? He had everybody in that arena in the palm of his hand. And he could have just started flipping us, and we would have fallen. It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I've never felt that ever with any show I've ever seen.
That's why he's the man. Still,
I guess people said that Elvis would do that. Elvis had that thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously never got to see Elvis. I was 2 when he died, so I mean, you know what I mean. I never saw him. I've seen some great concerts. Clay Walker was really good in concert, and I've seen a lot of great concerts. I watched George Strait. I didn't know what to expect. It's George Strait. At that point, I didn't know. I didn't know that he stood there and played and sang his songs, and you were going to be perfectly okay with that for 2 hours. I didn't know. I didn't know if he was swinging from ropes like Garth, or I didn't know.
Yeah.
Saw George Strait, and I'm like, he is literally standing there. Every once in a while, step back, smile, wave, tip his hat, nod, maybe walk over here by this guy, walk back to the microphone and sing for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you can't get enough of it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. A different kind of showmanship there.
It's a different thing. You are drawn to him and everything that he does. I got to watch Chris Ledoux. I got to perform with Chris Ledoux several times over my career and open for him and stuff, and watch him from the side of the stage, watch him work. Like a Garth Brooks show. It's very high energy. Sure. Garth stole a lot of the things from Chris, and he even he'll admit to that. But watching Chris do it, it was like, wow, this is cool, man. Yeah. This is cool. I think the entertainer part of it. Again, I seen Journey one time, and it was a couple years ago. But watching the 1981 Houston show, watching Steve Perry, I watched that guy reach through generations of time and grab me and entertain me while I was watching TV. He was a great showman. He was a great entertainer.
Yeah.
No doubt. Back in the day, look, I don't care who you are. I don't care where. If you've been entertaining people since 1990, let's just say 90, we'll cut it there, make math easy, up until 2000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were anywhere in the 90s to 2000, 2001, and you say that Garth Brooks didn't influence your live show in some way, you're a liar. You're a liar.
Yeah.
I remember one night we were playing, this is fun, we were playing up in Des Moines at the Super Toad Entertainment Center. They had a mechanical bull off the side of the stage. And
you tried to do the mechanical bull.
I did.
Right?
I did. I did it. I did it. Somebody asked during the week, they were like, hey, can you do that Billy Joel song? You May Be Right. Yeah. I said, we're going to end our set with this. Our last set, this is how we're going to end. This is how we're going to end our whole event here. and they had a DJ play in between and all that. And then when we were done, the DJ would start for the last hour of the night the DJ played. So our last song, you know, I told the mechanical bull guy, I said, listen, don't fire it up. Don't throw me, but make it good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to hold on for everything I got, but make it good. But if you see me falling off, shut her down, you know. He said, okay. And I can't remember. I said, do you have a glove that I can wear? And he was like, yeah, I guess, right? He's thinking like, so I see this whole thing playing in my mind, like, what would I want to do? I said, you throw me that glove. When I look at you, I said, when that's our last song, you be ready. He was like, I'll be ready. I said, no one can be on the bull when we start our last song, because I'm going to jump on and we'll do the thing and I'll get off. And then, I said, but when I look at you, I want you to throw me the glove. He's like, okay, whatever. Right. So we had it all planned out. So here we go. We go in a song, start the song. We had a lot of people. There was, I would say at least 100 people packed around the front of the stage, into it, doing they were into what we were doing. Right. So I look at him and he throws me a glove. I had a microphone on the stand and I'm putting the glove on, right, while I'm singing. And then I take it off and people are like, like, what are you doing? You're putting a leather glove on, right?
It's like he's about to do some Michael Jackson stuff over here.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, and then I'm like, I just run and I jump off the front of the stage, hit the thing, jumped up on the bull, slid up, looked at him, and he whizzed that thing 4 or 5 times. And I was like, it was close. He almost pitched me. He stops it. I slide off. I grab the microphone and you may be right. I may be crazy. Right. People lost their mind. They thought that was the coolest thing ever. And, of course, I thanked everybody for coming out, blah, 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 or Dixie Cadillacs, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for coming. Big trash can thing. DJ. Boom, 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 boom. Playing dance music. Right? And I was like, it was so cool, right? Thinking we did some work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So influences, again, my influences start as a singer early, as far back as I can remember with my dad. All the way up to when I heard Joe Diffie the first time. And then everything in between. You talked about Metallica and Jimi Hendrix and, the same kind of thing. I was just doing it. You were doing it for the guitar parts. You were like, I want to learn how to sound like that. How does he get that tone? How do they get that sound?
Yeah.
What are they playing? What kind of guitar is that? You know what I mean? How can I get that sound? Anyway, all right. Well, you have anything else? You got anything else you want to talk about or anything?
Not really. I think next week is supposed to be our season finale.
It is season finale next week. I think we're going to have a couple people on.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk to some people, maybe a listener. We're going to have a listener on maybe. Yeah. And maybe have somebody else on who's been on before. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think that's it. I think we're done for today. I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. With Tate Stevens and AJ Kronk, as always, we do this thing for you guys, not for us. No, not really. We do it for us. We're lying. So, anyway, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, social media stuff. Make sure you like, 5-star ratings, and leave us a review, especially on Apple Podcast. And as always, thanks for listening. We out.
Ain't this a sweet life?
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Want to ask a question for a future episode? Well, hit us up on Facebook or Twitter with hashtag Sweet Life Podcast. And be sure to give us a 5-star rating and hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay up to date on the latest news and information for the Sweet Life Podcast. And we'll see you next time.